Hi everyone, welcome to Asami Rat Care. So we're going to be doing a bit of a video on health at the moment, and a particularly important topic which comes up again and again and is something that I've been requested to make a video for. That is on rat wrapping. So this is something that you would do after surgery as part of the kind of protection for the rat to make sure it doesn't chew its own stitches. I'm going to talk about a couple of the other options in brief as well, but poor little Tato here, bless her, is going to be my model. I've used her because she's a rat that is kind of quite comfortable with handling and stuff, but more importantly she's quite wiggly, and a rat after surgery is going to be no wiggly, in fact generally a lot less wiggly than her, so you can get a bit of a feel for what it is. I will say with rat wrapping, they do not like it, none of them like it, that's fine. It's not done for their pleasure, it's done to protect them. Not every rat will chew its stitches, and you may want to kind of observe and see whether you think it's they're going to or not before you wrap them. But generally speaking, there's some surgeries that I personally won't take risks on. So spay or any abdominal surgery, I will always wrap the rat before I go to bed at night. Because the consequences if they do chew when I'm not there to stop them is basically disembowelment. It's not pleasant, and it's going to be fatal 9 times out of 10. So you do need to be careful with those. And there's other things I will generally wrap basically all my rats, because I know my family are little assholes, and with intelligence comes not the best reaction to anaesthetic, and they pretty much all chew their stitches, so that's what I do. Right, so I'm going to kind of demonstrate on this surface. I'll talk as much as I can, but I also don't want to make it too stressful for Tato, because ultimately this isn't for her best interests, but it's also kind of for me to faff around with a rat that's not post-surgery when I have to be a bit more gentle and a bit more worried about them than one that is post-surgery. So one thing to say, so what I'm aiming to do with the rat is I'm aiming not to cover any wound, so I'm going to pretend here that we have the typical wounds, which are kind of lump removals from this area, a spay which is normally across the belly there. Sometimes they do get lump removals up here, or operations on their faces. It's very good for the operations on the faces. It's hard work for any lump removals in the armpits, because the whole aim of a rat wrap is that you don't put pressure on the wound where you can. If you have to, try and protect the wound, so put a sterile dressing over it, and then use stuff like this, which is a little bit of padding, and the vet should be able to help you with this. I'm not going to put that on Tato this time because she doesn't need it. I'm just going to demonstrate the wrap and how tight it is, and the kind of behaviours that you can expect from a rat that will tell you that it's good, it's bad, etc. Hopefully I'll get it right. It does sometimes take me, even though I do it a lot of the times, a couple times to get it right, so we shall see whether I get it right first time or not with Tato. If I don't, I'm unlikely to repeat it lots, just because it's not fair on her, but we shall see where we get to. Right, so wrap, what do I mean by that? Now the best things to use for wrap is cohesive bandage. Here's 2 different sizes. To be honest, I prefer this size because my rats are quite long bodied. So let's hold this up to Tato, and you can see straight away it'll cover most of her middle. I'll probably fold a little bit of it up, but if I use the small bandage, it would only cover just her kind of chest area. And what I want to do is basically act like a straitjacket, so I want to stop her from bending. And I've got a really good picture to demonstrate this with her grandma actually, which I'll pop up on the screen now. And as you can see from the video, the rat is kind of hunched over, but you can see daylight between her head and her hindquarters. She was having a lump removal actually from inner thigh, just down there, so she could not get to that wound, and yet she could still function, she could still eat. She didn't like it, she hated it, but that's the main principles with that. Right, so here we go with Tato. I've got the wrap. What I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of measure out a decent amount. I try and do more than I want because I can always cut it off, whereas adding more is a bit of a pain. So that's probably okay. We shall see how it goes. The good thing about cohesive bandage is it sticks to itself, but it doesn't stick so much so it doesn't come off again. So that makes it really good. It's also flexible. You need a bit of flexible because the rats are very good at getting out of things. Yes, you're going to be stuck in this soon, miss. So you want, and by the act of its flexibleness, it sticks to itself more strongly, though you do sometimes need a little bit of help. Sorry, this is a new roll, so I'm just unsticking this end of it. Right, so next step is I'll lay it out, and then this is a lot easier with a rat that's slightly stoned from the anaesthetic. I'll get the rat over it, like so, and then fairly quickly I'm going to try and get the first wrap on. Okay. Rejig slightly because Tato is not stoned. So you want to get a decent amount of stretch on that. This was easier in principle. Right, we're going to change the tactic a little bit. You want to get a decent amount of stretch because that is what will kind of add to the stiffness on the rat. So this first layer isn't particularly good because she's been a pain to get it on. But as I do subsequent wraps around her, it's getting a little bit tighter. Now you do have to do this a bit tighter than you think. Because the rat will be able to squeeze out of it otherwise. Now straight away you can see Tato's not loving this, but it's also fairly tough, and you can see that it's causing her to be long and straight, which is exactly what we're after. She can't walk normally, that's normal. You will immediately panic and think, oh my god, she can't breathe, but I can fit a good finger down there and she's still able to breathe because I can feel it. A good test, and we'll see whether she cooperates with this, they don't always, and they're sometimes sulking. Can the rat eat? Now Tato apparently has the desire to eat a banana chip. I know this is a really high value treat for them. If they can eat, they can breathe, they're going to be fine. And then what I would do is get it on them like this, and then just observe them for about an hour or so. If they're going to get out, they will get out within the hour. So you can see this has actually worked pretty well first time. I'm quite surprised. You probably find that a post-surgery rat is slightly more distressed by it because they've been through a lot. They're a little bit stoned, their behaviour is not normal. So I'll stop this video for a little bit and stick a video on of one of my rats that actually post-surgery that I took a little while ago, and you can see the way that they're flinging themselves around, and it can be quite distressing to watch, but that rat was fine. That rat was absolutely healthy, ate the food with no bother afterwards, much like the test I've done with Tato. So see what you think. So Tato's coping quite well with the wrap, but I don't want to put her in it for any longer than needs to be. You can see right now just how good adhesive bandages are coming on and off. Other options that you can do with rats. So this is the smallest basically cone of shame that the vets do. It's one that I've used on rats before. I will say it does not stay on does very well at all, because Bucks have got a bit more jawbone to them. Tato doesn't, so I know if I put it on there it'll come straight off, but I won't put it on her. She nearly put it on herself there because I know it won't do much good, but that works by trying to stop them from getting around, much like with the dogs. The problem with this is they can't easily eat because they can't get their paws around to eat. What I've seen people do with great success is make a flower petal type thing. So let's have a really quick go on this just to show you what I mean. This is just a random piece of card that I happen to have in. Open it out so you get a big flat bit, and what we're looking at is making a flower. Come on my shoulder, you. Tato wants to help make the flower. Right, this is an approximate. I'll probably adjust this as I go to fit the particular wrap. It may work better with something that's solid, but the idea is that the petals do let them... Okay, she's going to go to the food bowl. I got her some treats just because I was feeling hugely guilty about putting her through this. They know how to kind of get to me. Yeah, the petal means that they can potentially get their paws round to eat, which will help matters. Now, I'm doing this roughly because I've personally not used this. I tend to just wrap them and find it a lot easier. And I've never yet had a problem with the wrap. It's always worked. as required. Apparently you don't like, oh, you can see you're trying to get on the floor. Yes. So the idea with this makes them look a little bit like a lion. You have to play a little bit with the centre to try and get it to fit the rat. Now Tato's been very good here and tolerant of me. Yeah, you miss. Right, let's put this on you again. Oh, I know. It's horrible. So I'm not sticking this in place, but you can see straight away that it makes it quite a bit harder for her to get through. You'd normally tape it in place and then she couldn't get it off. Now I'm going to take that off because it's not really fair to leave it like that. But the idea is again that she can't get her claws around. So the size, you need it to be big enough that they can't easily kind of bend around, chew at things and such. But that's quite a potential option if your rat has a kind of wound where they can get to it. So like the armpit area where you'd be putting pressure on with the wrap. So I think that's most of the methods. Oh, I should say, sometimes you find your adhesive bandages not sticking. Having something like this, which is just kind of wound tape, doctors sell it, pharmacies sell it, is great because you can just stick it over there. Some cases you can use something like a tuber grip, but just be careful because that's got quite a lot of elasticity on it and it can kind of put a lot of compressions on them. Problems you may see, and you need to keep an eye on this, particularly in older bucks, you can see fluid retention. So I had one buck that any time I put the wrap on, his abdomen would swell up. When I swapped the wrap and put the cone of shame on, his head would swell up. So I took it in turns, half a day on each, and it kept him roughly about right for the 2 or 3 days that you want. And that is something I need to say. So wrapping is only a short-term solution. You cannot leave a rat like that. However, rats are fantastic healers. So what I tend to find is once you pass the first 48 hours, the anaesthetic's out of the system. They're no longer a little bit crazy because they do get crazy with the anaesthetic to differing degrees. Then you're kind of done and you don't have to worry too much because it's healed enough that even if they have a little bit of a go at it, they're not going to open it right up. And they're feeling the pain a little bit more, so they're less likely to bother it significantly. At a pinch, you might have to do 72 hours, and that's for a rat that's really determined. But as long as the wound has stayed pretty much immobile in that time, it should be well healed by then. It's only a very, very rare case that you need to do anything else. And I'd say most of those cases you might actually want to do open wound management, unless it was abdomen, obviously you don't mess with that. But if it's like an armpit or a facial thing, they can cope with an open wound as long as you do it properly, use the appropriate medication, and the vet can help you with that. I might do one on that at some other point, should I ever get a rat that needs it. Right, so I think me and Tato are done. Tato deserves a nice treat now for being such a good girl, and hopefully that helps you. And hopefully you don't actually need it in the first place because nobody likes putting their rat through surgery. So bye from me and Tato.